the craziest weapon your ancestors built 70,000 years ago, a man your size could not have killed it. Not with the body he had. He stood maybe 5.5 feet tall, weighed less than you do, and in front of him was an animal that could open his rib cage with one swing of its head. He had no claws. No fangs worth the name. His fastest sprint would have lost to almost anything on that plain. And yet the bones in the dirt tell us he won. Again and again, for tens of thousands of years, the small, soft animal walked away, and the big armored one did not. How? The answer is sitting in a layer of sediment in South Africa, and when archaeologists first measured it, they did not believe their own rulers. To understand it, you have to forget the cartoon version of the past. Forget the brute dragging a club. Your ancestors of 70,000 years ago were not getting close enough to club anything. Close was where you died. Close was teeth and hooves and 1,000 pounds of panicking muscle. The entire problem your ancestors faced, the problem that shaped their hands and their brains, and eventually you, was distance. How do you reach out and end a life from across a clearing while your own heart keeps beating? The first answers were clumsy. A sharpened stick, a rock thrown hard, a heavy spear you shoved into something at arm's length and prayed. These work, sort of, if you are willing to bleed for every meal. But somewhere in the Middle Stone Age, in the long dim stretch before anything we'd call civilization, somebody did something stranger than sharpening. Somebody made a weapon that was useless on its own. A weapon that only worked if you understood a thing you could not see. Here is the evidence stack. At a site called Sibudu Cave, in what is now KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa, archaeologist Lynn Wadley and her team excavated stone points dating to roughly 64,000 years ago. These points were small, too light, too delicately made to sit on the end of a thrusting spear, on a heavy shaft, a point that fine would shatter on first impact. So why make them that way? Wadley looked closer and found microscopic damage on the tips, the specific kind of fracture you get from high-speed impact, not slow pressure. And on the bases, she found residue, the chemical ghost of glue and binding, the marks of something that had been mounted onto a very thin shaft. Pinnacle Point, another South African site studied by Curtis Marion, pushes related microlithic technology back even further. The picture that emerged was almost absurd. Your ancestors were not making spears. They were making arrows. And an arrow is nothing without the thing that throws it. Picture the scene now, because the dirt lets us. It is dawn on a grassland that no longer exists. A man crouches in tall grass, and across the open ground a large antelope lowers its head to graze, unaware. The man is too far to throw anything. 40, 50 paces. At that distance, his strongest cast would wobble and fall short and harmless. But he is not going to throw. He raises a curved length of springy wood, a string of twisted animal sinew pulled taut between its ends. He fits one of those tiny, glued, almost fragile points to a reed shaft, and he pulls. His whole back loads up with tension. The wood bends and holds, storing every ounce of strength his arms put into it, holding it, waiting, silent. The antelope lifts its head. For one held breath, nothing moves. Then he opens his fingers. That is the weapon. The bow. And the reason it changed everything is not the reason you think. Because here is the twist, and it is the part that should stop you cold. The bow is not really a weapon. It is a machine for thinking about the future. Sit with that. A thrown spear is an extension of your arm, your strength turned into motion in the same instant. There is nothing to plan. You see, you throw, it happens. But a bow forces you to do something no other animal on earth can do. You must put energy into a thing and store it. You must hold a force that wants to release and decide with discipline when to let it go. You build the tension now to spend it later. And before any of that, you had to make a tiny stone point and glue it to a shaft and twist a string and carve a stave, all of it useless. All of it effort poured into objects that feed you nothing, on the bet that days or weeks from now they will turn into food. That is not hunting. That is the human imagination made of wood and sinew aimed at tomorrow. And the glue alone should make you stop. The adhesive Wadley analyzed from Sibudu was not just tree sap. It was a recipe. Red ochre mixed with gum, sometimes heated, the proportions adjusted, so the bond would hold under the violent shock of impact without going brittle. Wadley argues that getting this right requires holding several conditions in your mind at once: temperature, ingredient, purpose, outcome, the kind of multitasking and abstraction we once thought arrived far later. To make the weapon, your ancestor had to be a chemist. And to be a chemist, your ancestor had to imagine a result that did not yet exist and work backward to it. But if it was so powerful, here is the question that should be nagging at you. Why did it take so long? Anatomically modern humans had been around for well over 100,000 years. The hands were the same. The shoulders were the same. So what changed at 70,000 years that finally let the arrow fly? The answer is not in the body. It is between the bodies. A bow is too complicated for one person to reinvent from nothing in a single lifetime. The string, the stave, the heat-treated glue, the fletching, the release, this is a stack of inventions, each one balanced on the last. No lone genius dreams the whole tower. It only exists if knowledge survives the death of the person who had it, if a father can hand it to a daughter, if a band can carry a method across generations without losing the thread. The bow is evidence of something invisible in the dirt. It is evidence of teaching, of language rich enough to say not just look out, a lion, but heat the ochre less this time, the last batch cracked. The weapon your ancestors built was the visible shadow of an invisible thing, a network of minds passing instructions across time. And once that network existed, the world tilted. Think about what range does to a society. The hunter with a bow does not need to be the biggest or the bravest. He needs to be patient, precise, and good with his hands. Strength stops being destiny. The anthropologist Richard Lee, who spent years living with the Jew Hansansi people of the Kalahari in the 20th century, documented hunters who still used poisoned arrows from small bows, animals that the arrow only wounded, and the hunters then tracked, sometimes for days, reading the ground. The kill happened at the moment of the shot, but the meal arrived through knowledge, persistence, and a shared map held in many heads. James Huseman, who has written about these same communities, describes a way of life where the hunt was woven through with cooperation and obligation, where what one person brought down belonged, by rule, to others. The weapon at a distance and the sharing up close were the same system. Now turn it around and look at yourself, because you are still doing it. You wake up and you do things that feed you nothing today. You study for an exam months away. You put money into an account you will not touch for 30 years. You rehearse a conversation that has not happened. You load tension into the present and hold it with discipline to release it at a moment you have chosen on a target you cannot yet see. The neural habit of drawing the bow, storing the energy, waiting, choosing the instant, that is the same machinery running every time you delay a small pleasure now for a larger one later. The hunter in the grass and the person setting an alarm for a goal a year away are pulling the same string. And the part that should unsettle you a little, none of it lives in your bones. Strip away the language, the teaching, the inherited recipes, and you are back to the soft, slow animal with no claws, standing in front of something that could open your rib cage. Everything that makes you dangerous, everything that makes you you, was handed to you. You did not invent the bow. You did not invent the alphabet, or the number 0, or the wheel. You inherited a tower of stored tension built by people whose names are gone, and your only real job, the same job your ancestor had at dawn with a reed against a string, is to hold it steady, add one thing, and pass it on before you let go. So look again at the man in the grass. Small, soft, outmatched by every measure that should matter on that plane. He opens his fingers, and the stored thought of 100 generations crosses the clearing in a single breath. A man your size could not have killed it. So he didn't. He let his ancestors do it for him.